Okay, welcome back to my class. So, in the previous video, we have already discussed the developmental path of India, China, and Pakistan. So, here in this video, we'll discuss the detailed developmental path of China. I have already seen that these all three countries they started the development at the same time because India and Pakistan they got independence in the year 1947, whereas China, this People's Republic of China, was established in the year 1949. So after the independence, all these three countries they adopted planned economic development. This India started economic planning in the year 1951, whereas this China started planning first 5-year plan in the year 1953, whereas this Pakistan started the 5-year plan in the year 1956. So all this India and Pakistan, they adopted mixed type of economy. Mixed economy, you are knowing that the economy having the coexistence of both this public sector and private sector. But China economy, the China, you are knowing, is a communist economy, adopted the communist economy, and they adopted, let us see, command model. There's command model of economy. So in the command model of economy, there is no coexistence of public and private sector. There is only one sector, and that is the public sector, and the ownership of the means of production are owned and controlled. Even the land, let us see, all the critical sector and enterprises and land, the ownership of land is in the hand of the government. So private properties were not allowed in China till we can say that economic reform which took place in the China in the year 1978. So we are knowing, let us see. So here we'll discuss this developmental path of China, then developmental path of Pakistan. So I told you this People's Republic of China was established in the year 1949, and one-party system was established in China. This communist party was formed in China, and it is only one-party system, and ownership of all the enterprises, all critical enterprises, and we can say this land and other properties, they were in the hand of the government. So it means private properties were not allowed in China to hold in by the people. So let us see that the different developmental paths were being adopted in China, and the first and important path adopted by the Communist Party, or the we can say by the People's Republic of China, was Great Leap Forward campaign. This is the first campaign started by the Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong was the leader, the communist leader, Chinese leader, and he has started one campaign in the year 1958. And that campaign, let us see, in 1958, a program named GLS campaign was initiated by Mao to modernize Chinese economy. So in order to modernize the Chinese economy, Great Leap Forward campaign was started, and the aim of the campaign was to transform agrarian economy into modern economy through the process of rapid industrialization. So let us see this. Before 1958, Chinese economy was agrarian economy. So in the year 1958, this Mao Zedong, he started this campaign, and the main aim of this campaign was that to transform the Chinese economy from agrarian economy to the modern economy through the process of industrialization. And people of China, they were encouraged to set up the industries in their backyard, and let us see this, the people, they were encouraged and they were motivated, they were highly motivated to produce the steel, to produce the industrial goods in their backyard. So here I have already written, under this program, people were encouraged to set up industries in their backyard, in the rural areas, commune systems was started under which people collectively cultivated lands. In 1958, there were 26,000 communes covering almost all the farm population. So here, let us see in the rural areas that commune systems were formed, and let us see this. All the cultivated lands were divided into different communes, and in the year 1958 there were 26,000 communes. It means all the cultivated land, all the farmlands were divided into different communes. It means some of the villages, they were forming one commune, and the communes were responsible for the production of the food grains and making that commune, making that area self-sufficient in the production of food grains. So, but what happened, let us say, GLF campaign met with many problems. A severe drought caused havoc in China, killing about 30 million people. But this great leap forward campaign, this campaign met with certain severe problems. And what happened, let us see, this campaign was also having that another campaign that 4 pest control campaign was also there. And according to the pest control, it was the belief of the Chinese people that the pest, especially the sparrows and rats and mosquitoes and flies, they are, let us say, destroying the food grains. They are eating the food grains, and they must be controlled. And the people of China, they were highly motivated by the leaders, and they were motivated to kill all the sparrows. So all the sparrows were being killed, rats were being killed, and because of the the killing of the rats, because of the killing of flies, because of the killing of the sparrows and other birds, let us say, ecological problems started. And let us say this, because of the loss of biodiversity, and that different problems have started. And apart from this, drought also take place in China. And because of drought and because of ecological disbalances in China, and the preferences for the production of steel in the courtyard, that there was the shortage of food grains in China, and about 30 million of the Chinese people, they died due to the malnutrition, due to the shortage of food grains. So then another campaign, let us see, another revolution we can say, was also started by the Mao Zedong, and that revolution is known as Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. This revolution was also started by Mao Zedong, and this revolution was started in the year 1966. So, and this the revolution continued till the death of the Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong died in the year 1976, and this policy, this revolution policy, continued in China. According to this policy, the students and professionals, teachers, professors, and editors, writers, authors, reporters, doctors, engineers, they were sent to the countryside to work and learn. So teachers, they were instructed, the professors, they were instructed to take the students into the countryside and teach them in the along with the production of goods and goods. And so here, what happened, that in the year 1966, Mao introduced the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 76, under which students and professionals were sent to work and learn from the countryside. So that the students, they were instructed to learn from the countryside. The students and the teachers, they all went into the countryside. They went into the different parts of the country, and they started producing the goods, because there was the drought situation in the China, and the large number of people, more than 30 million people died. And that this Mao thinks that if the students and teachers and other the educated people, if they go to the work, then certainly the production will increase and the shortage of food grain could be solved. And those who were not supporting this policy, they were given punishment and imprisonment in China. So that is why, let us say, but this policy was supported by Russia, because the professionals from Russia, they came to give the training to the people of China, to the student of China, to the teachers of China, to the professionals of China. So these experts, we can say professionals, they came from Russia, because Russia and China, they were having the close friend. Both were communist countries. So Russia started supporting to the China in order to provide certain expertise, knowledge to the students and the professionals in China. But what happened that China and Russia, they got conflicts, and when both the country got conflicts, then some political conflicts when they got, then Russia started withdrawing their professionals. So here I have written, however, when Russia had conflicts with China, it withdrew its professionals who had earlier been sent to China to help industrialization process. So when the conflict arises in both the countries, then professionals were withdrawn from China. Economic reforms were introduced in China by Deng Xiaoping, and he was a very senior leader of Communist Party. And after the death of Mao Zedong, then he took over the charges, and he introduced new economic policy in the year 1978, and he brought a lot of reforms in Chinese economy, and he transformed the Chinese economy from closed economy to open economy, and he made the China as a market economy and competitive economy. And in China, let us see, he brought a lot of reforms. In the initial stages, he brought reform in the agriculture, in the foreign trade, in the investment, and in the latter stage, he brought reform in the industrial sector. So let us see here, I have already written that China introduced reforms in phases. In the initial phase, reforms were initiated in agriculture, foreign trade, and investment sectors. In the agriculture, for instance, commune lands were divided into a small plots which were allocated to individuals' household. They were allowed to keep all incomes from the land after paying stipulated taxes. So before this, let us see, before the reforms, there was the commune system, and the lands were being cultivated collectively. But when economic reforms were introduced, then this commune system was abolished, and commune lands were allocated and to the individuals, not for the ownership. And the people, they were allowed to cultivate and keep the produce for themselves by paying a small amount of taxes to the government. So this was a major reforms which took place in China after the economic reform in the year 1978. In the latter stage, reforms were initiated in industrial sector, and private sector firms, township and village enterprises were allowed to produce goods. So private sector enterprises, township and village enterprises, they were allowed to produce the goods and to sell into the market. At this stage, enterprises owned by the government, known as state-owned enterprises, were made to face competition, and the enterprises were under the government ownership. They started facing the competition with the private enterprises, because same type of goods were being produced both by the private sector and the government sector in the China. Then dual pricing system was introduced in China. So what was happening? The farmers and industrialists, they were allowed to buy and sell their inputs and output at the prices which are being fixed by the government, and some inputs and output were purchased and sold at the prices fixed by the government, and some of the inputs and outputs were being sold at the market prices. So dual pricing system were existing in China, and this dual pricing system was introduced in China. And the next the economic developmental path introduced in China was this special economic zone. So a special economic zone were being created, and let us see, this economic special economic zone was created in order to attract the investment from foreign countries, and especially let us see, to attract the multinational corporation to produce the goods and services in China. So when the special economic zone was being created, and a certain area where let us see, we can say created for the industrial development, then industrial development took place rapidly, and certainly let us see, the quality as well as the quantity of the production increases in China. I think this concept is clear to all of you. Okay, thank you.